better chance to work, to free up some troops, to protect the democratic enterprise of a moderate Muslim democracy in Afghanistan, which is essential to getting Osama bin Laden and protecting this country, to implement the 9/11 Commission recommendations, and to finally make this country energy independent and stop financing both ends of the war on terror. We've got an economic plan. We want to go back to arithmetic and have tough budget rules and stop pretending that the deficit doesn't matter, and that it doesn't matter that we've added $3 trillion to the debt. Now they want a merit badge for getting it down to $250 billion a year. And it isn't, because they're counting Social Security against it. It's really over $400 billion. And you know how it's financed? You should know. Look at every young person in this audience. Every day your government goes to China, Japan, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, the United Kingdom, and several other countries. Our 10th biggest creditor is Mexico. When you hear them bloviating about illegal immigration, it's something they haven't done anything about in 6 years. Ask yourself this. Their policy is to borrow money from a country with a $1,500 a year per capita income, which could be spent educating people and creating jobs on the other side of the Rio Grande River. Not to give middle-class people a tax cut, but to give me a tax cut and to pay for our soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq. Now, if you think that's good policy, you really should vote for them. But if you don't, we got a much better deal for you. We want to restore the cuts in the college loan program. They raise the interest rates. We want to lower them. We want to allow our government to do what every other large purchaser of medicine does, which is bargain for lower prices for our seniors. And we know, look at Arizona. You heard Janet talking about the jobs. The real problem with America's economy as a whole, except in the places that are growing, is that this is essentially a jobless, wageless recovery. The unemployment rate looks low because so many people have quit looking for jobs. And once you quit looking, you're not in unemployment. If everybody that was looking for a job when I was president was still looking, the unemployment rate would be over 6% in this country. And the reason is we have not found this decade's source of good new jobs. It's a bird's nest on the ground begging us to come and pick it up. It is a commitment to clean energy, to biofuels, to solar energy, to wind energy, to conservation. Millions of jobs, boost farm income, and we can pay for it. Why are we subsidizing oil production at $60 a barrel when you don't need any tax breaks for it? Why are we subsidizing the movement of American jobs overseas? People ought to be free to put their jobs wherever they want, but you shouldn't have to underwrite it. Why shouldn't we instead invest in a clean energy future? We Democrats, we have good common sense ideas. And the only thing standing between Jim Peterson and the Senate, the only thing standing between a lot of our House candidates is the diving board problem. I just never have jumped off this diving board. And they're playing on that. That's why you're getting all these negative ads. And it's an old trick. I got a 50th birthday card I still save all the time. It's got a dog on a unicycle holding about 6 balls, and he's supposed to go across a tightrope. And everybody in the circus looked at him and said, he was afraid because he was an old dog, and this is a new trick. This is an old trick. And if you'll forgive me, let me just give you an example. In the 15th century, the great Italian political philosopher Niccolo Machiavelli said, there is nothing so difficult in all of human affairs than to change the established order of things. Because those who will lose are certain of their loss, while those who will benefit are uncertain of their gain. They are trying to play on the same old fears that have gotten this country in the trouble we're in. We're a more perfect union country. We're not an ideological divide country. We are a practical, progressive people, not a radical people. That's what we are. When we get in a hole, we remember the first rule we were taught: stop digging. When they get in a hole, they look up at the ground and say, would you hand me a bigger shovel? They talk about cut and run. We're not about cut and run. We got all these veterans on our side. We're not about cut and run, but we do believe in stop and think. This has not been a conventional whoop-de-doo political rally because we have been given a sacred responsibility. We Democrats have become, by default, both the progressive and the traditional conservative party of America. If you're conservative on the budget, you got to be with us. If you're conservative on law enforcement, you got to be with us. If you're conservative on the rule of law, you sure got to be for us. If you're conservative on the management of our military treasures, you got to be with us. That's why we have all this support. People know it down deep inside, but there's still too many of them standing on the diving board.